in the weeds? I hear you. You're slammed. You're swamped. You got just so much going on right now. Your dance card is so full, you couldn't possibly make room for another course because you're just so fucking busy, right? Well, take that order and run it right the fuck back to the kitchen because you got a brand new healthy heaping helping of your favorite fair feeding food stuff efficaciously decocted into a smooth and salty bite with the crispy ends. It's not just a course, it's an experience. And it's 100% organic, neoteric, aromatic, systematic, and simmered in grease lightning. There's so much to taste, so much to savor, but how will you know what to have? Lucky for you, you've already ordered, you maniac. You've been here before. Don't act brand new. This menu is one of those prefixed, nothing 86, hoity-toity, tablet-doity kind of places, and you're a VIP guest for this sublime, one-of-a-kind. Just kidding, it's open 365, 24/7 on a beacon of the highway that you can see for miles, that you and I both call science! Oh yeah, science. You've read the reviews, you heard the word. It's starting to seem like you might want to get a resi, but can you afford it? Well, keep it down so the other guests don't. Here he is. But this joint don't just cater to the coastal elites. The higher-ups too bourgeoisie for you and me, neighbor friend, you get me? The thing about science is, it can be expensive and economical. There's a fuck ton to go around, just grab it off the truck, bring it around back, go through the bushes, if you know what I mean. I don't, please help me. I slammed a peach mango bang a little bit ago because I just turned on the news, and after 10 minutes I was like, well, fuck it. But I've never had one before, and I'm tiny, so it might have been too deep a dive here. Might have to call a professional. Just a heads up, y'all are my in case of emergencies now. What were we talking about? JK! You never forget, no matter what tangent you go off because you chugged enough caffeine to make a sloth get a Peloton. No! It's always in the purview, on the radar, and watching the floor, making sure we're all getting what we ordered, even in the face of some truly unhinged earth shit we've been dealing with lately. I don't know if you've been outside, but it feels like somebody's changing the channel on the planet with a dad level aggression. But science always finds a way to come up with a taster's menu of helpful, hopeful, and truly batshit wild fucking insane ideas. Sometimes it works. We got jetpacks and VR now, so like the 90s got some shit, right? Sometimes it doesn't work. Sci-fi, for decades, had us convinced that the future would be all video phones, and we have that right now. You can do that. And humanity was like, oh, actually, fuck that. And would rather instead entrap me in a fucking text chain wondering when it will end. And sometimes it's so fucking wild, it might work, and it would be insane if it did. Back in 1932, Winston Churchill predicted that in 50 years, quote, we shall escape the absurdity of growing a whole chicken in order to eat the breast or wing by growing these parts separately under a suitable medium. To which the waiter responded, sir, this is a Denny's. Churchill went on to say that, quote, the new foods will be practically indistinguishable from the natural products on the outset, and any changes will be so gradual as to escape observation. He wrote it all down in an essay called 50 Years Hence, which you can find in a book of essays called Thoughts and Adventures. Because they didn't have Twitter back then, people liked the build-up. Nowadays, that little test tube goo burger is a reality. And it goes by a very expensive name you'd be a little embarrassed to order in public. Cultured meats. Yeah. Oh no, hold on, it's gonna get way more gross. In 2005, Jason Gavrett Matheny, Peter Elderman, Doug McFarlane, and Vladimir Mironov, you can Google them later, put your phones down. We're at dinner! Published a paper with the mood-killing title, In Vitro Cultured Meat Production, in the journal. In the journal, Tissue Engineering. Yeah, gross. It's not just tracks on Lars Van Trier's Spotify. It was actually the first modern-day scientific publication about growing your own sci-fi meat. Even though that idea had been kicking around since probably before it had been written down when Winston Churchill had a bathroom moment so hardcore he predicted cell phones. That's true, he did. Then in 2013, Mark Post out of Maastricht University successfully created the first cultured meat patty out of 20,000 thin strands of muscle tissue, which they tested live on TV. The food critic Hannah Rutzler saying of her Kronenberger, quote, there is really a bite to it. There is quite some flavor with the browning. There is quite some intense taste. It's close to meat. It's not that juicy, but the consistency is perfect. It's really something to bite, and I think I think the look is quite similar. Basically, her review was, great, not good. 3 stars, would recommend it in apocalypse. Between 2011 and 2017, there was a bit of science of meat boom with a bunch of cultured meat startups that had names, like if they weren't trying to be Star Trek steaks, would be like killer fucking metal bands, like Memphis Meats, Super Meat, Higher Steaks, Peace, like world peace of meat, Vital Meat. That was my favorite one. You can go see Vital Meat at the Subterranean. Then in 2019, the Thwatcher Project was launched in Belgium with the goal of developing cultured foie gras because fucking stop it! It's fucking weird! It's gross! You're killing ducks in a saw trap! What the fuck, humans? Is this your god? So hard are you hamming on MacBook McChicken and 3D printed pork that you even managed to test it in space. In 2019, Olive Farms collaborated with 3D bioprinting solutions to culture meat on the International Space Station. This was done by extruding meat cells on a scaffolding using a 3D printer, basically printing your kebabs, making your label maker fucking jealous. March 28th, 2023. An Australian cultured meat startup that went the opposite way and went with a name that sounds like a very loud Christian rock band, Vow, has announced that they have created lab-grown meatballs made from rejiggered woolly mammoth DNA. In a move that woke Jeff Goldblum from his sauna. Vow, quote, focused on a protein present in mammals called myoglobin that gives meat its texture, color, and taste. And then they identified the DNA sequence for the mammoth version of this in a publicly available genome database. And then they, quote, filled in the gaps in the mammoth myoglobin DNA sequencing using information from the genome of an African elephant. The scientists inserted synthesized genes into a sheep muscle cell, which was then cultured or grown in a lab, and then because science, they were able to produce about 400 grams of mammoth meat. Right? Basically taking the idea of Minecrafting manwich. And then they added a dose of mad science fuckery. Quote, from a genomic point of view, it's only one gene amongst all the other sheep genes that is the mammoth. It's one gene out of 25,000, end quote. Also, he went on to say, but you can really taste the mammoth. Now, is the clone patty going to be the new hotness at Culver's? No, probably not. At least for a while. Don't get excited. You can still snack on the rest of us in the kingdom with abandon because we haven't invented contracts and money yet. Normally we would taste our products and play around with them. But we were hesitant to immediately try and taste because we're talking about a protein that hasn't existed for 5,000 years. I've got no idea what the potential allergy might be of this particular protein, says Chief Scientific Officer James Rael. And then he went on to say, that's one of the reasons why we're not offering this as a product. It's not going to go for sale because we have no idea about the safety protocol of this particular product. Because, yeah, nobody's testing little Stephanie for a fucking woolly mammoth allergy these days. They got no idea. It could fuck up your guts. It could be delicious. My money's on delicious because I don't know if you've been outside, but have you seen a lot of woolly fucking mammoths running around lately? Now, where did they get the leftover pleistocene jerky, you ask? Haven't you heard? That shit's available in permafrost all over Russia. Some so fresh you still got the juice in them. You just pop a straw in there, grab a sip, throw it in the old science machine, give it a twirl, and bam! Mammoth bolognese, hot and ready, and not made for human consumption. But if you just gotta know what mammoth tastes like, ask Love Dahlin, a professor of evolutionary genomics at Stockholm University Center for Paleogenetics. Because once during a field trip to the Yana River in Siberia in 2012, Dahlin said he tried a small piece of frozen meat taken from a partial carcass of a baby mammoth. And when he asked if he would try the Australian mammoth meatball, he said, quote, without a doubt, I would love to try this. It cannot possibly taste worse than real mammoth meat. So there you go. Mammoth is fine as long as it's fresh. Do not refrigerate for over 5,000 years. Now, all this experimental Big Macking has been done because, well, humans, you eat a fuck ton of meat, and that affects the climate. And granted, making Future Chuck, by the way, a new company called it, who's in? It's not going to solve the real problem.
In order to do that, you got to invest in diverse, regional, sustainable agriculture. But it's not as much fun as niche meat. But I get it. Whatever you can do to chill out a little will not go unnoticed when you finally biff it and the Eagles take over. Not saying I know shit, but I'm just saying in the circles I fly in, shit is known. Either way, it's fucking wild and it would be insane if it worked. And it's even more insane that you live on a planet where you got the future goods to print your own meat. Even if it's fucking hilarious, it's fucking fascinating. And all those flavors are available in the assortment pack of tangy, tangible types of the Freezy Pop we crave and call science!